Hey everybody, I'm Howard, and this is Otto's Retirement Corner. Let's talk about diversification. And it's a little different for those of you coming up to retirement versus those of you in retirement. And I'm mainly going to focus on in retirement, but let's say for those of you coming up to retirement, I'm a big fan of a large stock allocation. Up until you're maybe 40, 45, depending upon when you plan to retire, maybe even 50. For me, 100% U.S. stock allocation is fine. If you want to do 80-20 with foreign, that's fine. And I don't see a need for bonds or cash. As you hit that glide path down to retirement, maybe, when you're 10 years away, you want to start putting some bonds in there. And again, that's personal choice. Return, over the long haul, the higher allocation for stocks, the better you'll do. I think we all know that. But there's risk tolerance. So some people get uncomfortable with that. I understand that. It may not be your best decision, but if it helps you sleep at night, fine. Go, give up a little gain for a little peace of mind. There's nothing wrong with that. So, now I want to look at diversification in retirement, and let me touch something that concerns both sides, before and after, and those are target date funds. Most 401ks will have them. You're free to get them, in a regular brokerage account or an IRA or Roth IRA. I don't personally like them because I think they allocate too much to bonds too early. I also, for pre-retirement, in retirement, you can't sell off bonds separately from stocks. So if you need to withdraw money, and it's a 60-40 allocation at that moment, or 50-50 or 70-30, whatever it is, that's what you're taking out. You can't say, hey, I just want to take out some bonds. And in my view, there's times where I only want to take out bonds. There may be times when I want to cash in stocks. So for that reason, I'm not a big target date fund. I don't know that all the target date funds are that efficient either. Some are better than others. Certainly Fidelity and Vanguard, the big ones, tend to do pretty well. So, I've seen a lot of videos recently, and there's a lot going up and back now about how important is diversification and how valuable is it. And, when we say diversification, we're talking not only allocation in stocks versus bonds, but, U.S. versus foreign. Sometimes people talk about cash. I recently saw one that was all stocks and cash allocation. And I'll say that, and I've said this before, I'm not a big fan of cash. Yeah, money markets are at 5% now. That's really good. But over any period of time, sufficient period of time, they'll underperform stocks and bonds. You'll say it in the comments, don't get me wrong here. There'll be times, if stocks are down like they've been this month and bonds are down like they've been this month, cash outperforms. But over a longer period, that's nothing you can rely on. Also, as interest rates start coming down, you're going to see much lower returns in those money markets, while bonds will go up and stocks will probably go up. Who knows? Who knows when interest rates will go down? And I've said this before. I'm not ever betting on which way interest rates are going. Every time I think I know, I'm almost invariably wrong. So here's the interesting thing. I'm going to talk to you about my portfolio, and I'm just going to talk about my stock portfolio, because my bond portfolio is pretty heavily weighted towards iShare bonds, which are packages of bonds that all mature in a certain year. So you can buy 2028, 2029, 2030. So no matter how the price of the bonds fluctuates, come December 15th of that year, they cash it out. All your bonds have matured during the year, and they cash it out. So when you buy the fund, unless something defaults in there, you pretty much know to the penny how much you're going to get come the time they cash it out. You can see a yield to maturity on average for the 300 bonds they hold, and that's pretty much what you'll see. So let's talk about stocks. I've recently seen people talk about huge, foreign allocations. I've seen people talk about, no, I don't like, why do we need foreign allocations? U.S. companies have their own foreign allocation. Well, the markets work a little bit differently, so I'm not completely sold on that. So a stock that is based in France will behave differently than a stock is based in the U.S. with some France allocation to their sales and profits. So right now, what I'm holding, and I have 7 stock ETFs. I also hold Apple, but I'm gonna hold Apple aside because Apple is like food and energy and the CPI index. It just varies so much lately. It sort of ruins any comparison. For a long time, it's done nothing but go up. The last quarter was pretty bad. I'm going to leave Apple out of it. It hurt me a little bit, but I'm going to leave it out of it. So I have VB. These are all Vanguard ETFs. Okay, I have 7 of them. I have a VBK, which is small cap growth. I have VSS, which is an all world small cap blend. ex-US, no US in there. VUG, which is large cap growth. VBR, small cap value. VEA, large cap ex-US, so it's international. VWO, which is emerging markets, mostly large cap stocks. And VTV, which is large cap value. All right. So, it occurred to me, and here's what I do with my friends and family who come to me for suggestions on investing. If they're not interested in learning, and many of them are not, and if they're not, going to be deeply involved in what they're doing, and if they're not going to monitor what they're doing, I make a simple suggestion to them. I suggest two ETFs. One is VTI, which is a Vanguard, mostly large cap growth fund. It's all market. It's the entire U.S. market, but that it skews to large cap just because of obviously the sheer size of it. So I recommend they get VTI and BND, which is the Vanguard all bond fund. So it has treasuries and municipals and corporates and investment grade, some lesser grades. And I leave it at that. Get those 2 funds. Based upon what your risk tolerance is, if you want to do 80-20, 70, whatever balance you want to do that. And again, this is mostly people nearing or in retirement. And then when you need to take money out, if stocks are down, don't take it out of stocks, take it out of bonds. If bonds are way down, don't take it out of bonds either. And this is where, I also recommend holding anywhere from 1 to 5 years of cash. I'm personally at about 2.5 years. So you hold cash for those times where both markets are down, which has happened recently. You take money from your cash. Otherwise, every year, if you want to rebalance, I don't necessarily do that, but if you want to rebalance, you take your money out of the one that was up for the year, take your cash there, and then you rebalance. I mean, it doesn't really matter where you're taking. You're going to take how much you need, whatever's left, you just rebalance into what you had previously. So here's the interesting thing, and keep in mind, this is 1 quarter. This is not a statistically strong number I'm going to give you here. If I look at the value from the end of December last year through the first quarter of this year, March 31st, my portfolio of those 7 ETFs was up 7.48, 7.5%. All right. I look at VT, which is that all world fund, and it was up 7.41%. So, the allocations are different and the weightings are different, but it was virtually the same return. So, I'm obviously going to watch that more closely going forward. But the point is, could I just not have taken 7 funds, which some have higher expense ratios than VT, and just bought VT and had an extremely low expense ratio, not worried about it, and be done with it? Yeah, probably. On the other hand, BND was down 1.25%. With most of my bond holdings, it doesn't matter whether they go up or down, because again, I'm going to cash them out for an amount I'm pretty certain on. When I bought them, I knew the yield to maturity was 5% or 6% or whatever it was at the time, and I knew I was going to get that. And just for comparison's sake, VTI, which is just the U.S. market, was up just 10.01%. So I've been better off with VTI, yeah. Would anybody even? Probably. I don't advocate buying individual stocks and trying to beat the market. 10% was a really good return for the quarter. It beat me because I'm diversified. Had I been less diversified, I'd been okay, you know. Had I just gone with, you know, more VUG, which is large cap growth, that outperformed VTI, you know, almost a full percentage point. So when we talk about diversification, yes, it's good. Don't overdo it. Don't overthink it. I still think over the long run I'll be okay. I may underperform. I may overperform. I may outperform. Remains to be seen. But give me your thoughts. Tell me what you're doing. I don't need dollar amounts. You want to do dollar amounts? I don't care. What percentages are you doing? How much is, what's your breakdown of your portfolio? If you have individual stocks, feel free to talk about it. Again, I'm not a big fan, but if it works for you, it works. That's fine. Subscribe, comment, let me know what's going on. Thanks. See you later.